This is Dr. Bunyamin Tar'an. He is the Associate Professor and Chickpea Breeder at the Crop Development Center. Bunyamin holds the Agri-Food Innovation Chair in Chickpea Breeding and Genetics, and he will be presenting an update on chickpea variety development. Thank you so much, Bunyamin.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, SPG, for this opportunity to share update on chickpeas, and especially to Andrea, Jasmine, Lori, and staff from SPG have been in communication in the last months or so. And thanks to Christine, who gave nice introduction to what's happening in our program in 2020. So basically, we reduced to about 50% of the capacity due to the COVID. But yet, our staff did a really good job to get things done, put the seeds in the field, in the ground in spring, and then get it off from the field in the fall. So this is what we have in 2020 and what is coming. So I'll be talking today about chickpeas. Okay, so this is what you see in the variety of green crops. I just selected to the varieties, the most varieties that are grown in Saskatchewan based on the data from the crop insurance. So all these varieties been around for many years, and you can see the yield data updated in to include the 2020 data in this new variety of green crops: B90, Frontier, Leader, Orion, and Palmer, and Council. So you can see as well as the seed size and Ascocaita kind of some variation. So because this is long-term data, you don't see kind of much of drastic changes. But I will show you here the yield data in the last 2 years. 2019 we had about 8 station year data, and then 2020 we had 4 locations. So this is the data. You can see here which one are still the kind of the winner, and then which one kind of dropping down. So you can see, for example, CDC Orion 2020 really dropped the yield to 47%. And just keep in mind a couple of locations we had in 2020 in the south especially, we didn't apply any fungicide. So we just let it go as it is. And you can see as part of the selection program, we see which one actually the winner that can withstand the natural conditions. So you can see Frontier is still looking good in both years. Palmer dropped down a little bit, and Leader kind of maintaining about 90% or so from the check. Seed weight also changes. In general, they are a bit smaller in 2020 due to the dry conditions. Okay, and this Ascocaita, you can see the rest of the varieties are kind of maintaining, but you can see in Orion is increasing from the average about 5.5 to 6.7 on scale 0 to 9 rating rate. So it's become really kind of susceptible, and this is kind of quite scary because Orion, as you see, is not long, released about 14 years ago, meaning in production maybe about 10 years now. So it takes about 3-4 years until you produce the certified seeds, and this already kind of start going down into the resistance to Ascocaita. I'll talk about that quickly later on. So this is the data. If you look at all those varieties, especially in the south, where mostly I've seen the increasing in the disease severity for most of the chickpeas. So you can see 2010, 14, 16, 19, and 20, where we had disease data that are scorable. There are a number of other years that I not included here because there wasn't any infection that kind of scorable in the plot. So you can see Orion start increasing in 2016, 19, and then 2020 you can see is kind of maintaining or kind of a really high disease score, so about 6.6, 6.7. Swift current, it was so dry at the end of the season, so this is kind of stopped at score 5.8. So this is really, as I said, a kind of a situation or bad situation for these varieties, the larger seeds and good yield potential, but this kind of the life of these varieties seem to be really short. So you can see, for example, the other two varieties or four varieties, B90, Frontier, Leader, and Palmer, is kind of maintaining across all those here. Okay, so even 2020, where we don't have any fungicide application at El Ros and Pascua, just outside Musco, so it's still maintaining the disease score at the expected levels. Okay, so this is some of the picture when it's really bad in 2019 at Limerick. So on my plots, the same test, just kind of few meters apart, CDC Leader on the left and CDC Orion on the right. You can see this is, I took this picture on the 26th of July 2019. You can see Orion is really melting due to Ascochyta. It starts from something, could be, but what really obvious when I did the score is the disease took over basically the entire plots and across all replications, not just one single plot. And you can see Leader is still maintaining. So probably if you are your customer or production, so maybe you start thinking not to switching to Leader or the other one, Palmer. Okay, so this is just a little bit on the what might happen with the Ascochyta. So in Canada, in North America, we have so-called both sexual and asexual spores in this fungus. Whereas in Australia, they only have the asexual spores of Ascochyta arabiae, the fungal that cause Ascochyta blight in chickpeas. So this sexual reproduction generates a large population of airborne recombinant ascospores, and it has very high evolutionary potential. So this population of disease or spores of fungus readily adapt to new selection pressure from extensive sowing of cultivars with same complement of resistant genes. So that's probably what hypothetically might happen. So the frequency of this may increase year to year and eventually will overcome the available resistance. So in a way, in the breeding point of view, if we cannot beat the Ascochyta, then we must stay ahead of the disease. So basically the strategy for us is to kind of diversify the sources. In reality, in the field, they may not be different in terms of the rating, but they may have different background of the genetics for the resistance. So this is what we are trying to accumulate and combine those sources of resistance for Ascochyta for the next in the breeding program. Okay. So in 2020, we released this 1748-1. I name it as a CDC Orkney. And on 2 years data, 2019, 2020 is 5% above the check, B90 across both brown and dark brown soil zones. On average, the seed size about 386 per 100 grams, so similar to Leader, I would say. And Ascochyta blacks around 4.9, 4.8, so similar to Leader and Palmer. So this is the one that was released in 2020. So coming to 2021, there are two kind of contrasting cabulis, if you like, if you see here. So the first one is the small cabuli seeded. Okay, so this variety is in the past many years is kind of really high yielding, but in the last 2 years it's only about 4 or 5% of B90. So the seed weight around 320 grams per 1,000 seeds, and it's Ascochyta around 4.8, and it is earlier maturity than the check. This one, so that's the plus point on that one. And the other one is 3652. This is the largest cabulis that we have right now. So the seed size is about 10 mil or larger per or 476 per 1,000 seeds. But the yield, there's a yield penalty on this one. So on average, about maybe 88 to 90% of B90 if you consider all locations that we have done for these varieties. So similar levels of Ascochyta with other varieties. Okay, so this is the 3652 lines. So this is the plot that we increased 2020, the breeder seeds, the CDC 3647 in Moose Jaw. So this, I took the picture on August 2020. Looks really nice. And I didn't get the kind of the how many application of fungicide here, but the plots at that time and throughout the season looks really nice and clean of any Ascochyta in the field. And this is the 3652 also at Moose Jaw. Have a 1 acre increase of these varieties, and the seed size is around again 10 mils. 9 to 10 mils, a little bit smaller than they would normally have due to probably dry in 2020. The other two varieties that we released is one specialty, the black Desi. Okay, this is black seed coat Desi, and 100% similar to B90, and seed weight kind of small Desi. One of the best for Ascochyta in earliness. You can see this one 2570 here, much earlier than any other variety. So this is one of the earliest maturing varieties that we see in the last in this regional test and across all tests. So Ascochyta also really good, about 4.6 in 2019-2020. So one of the best we had. And the other one is 2510. This is the regular Desi type with light tan seed coat color, which is desirable for the market. Look fresh, less tannin on the seed coat. Yield about similar, 103% of B90 of the checks, and seed weight about 280 to 90 per 1,000 seeds. And Ascochyta again about 4.7. So this is kind of more into the specialty. So Desi is very small market, so maybe I would say production around maybe 15,000 acres in the province, kind of localized production in different part of the province. So this is an option for you. So all these new varieties that we release starting 2019, they're all tolerant to imidazolinone herbicide. So you can apply like Solo or Solo Advance to control broadleaves or weeds in your production. And our research also shown that you can apply at kind of the growth state doesn't really matter whenever you can apply for this herbicide to these chickpeas. Okay, so this is the increase of to 510 Desi at Limerick. Okay, so quite nice plot. Okay. And this is the black Desi. Also, we increased at Limerick in 2020. So you can see that compared to the others, this is one of the earliest maturing chickpeas available. Okay, so coming so there's a lot of potential here. So this is kind of the first year regional entry. So I selected among the best here. So this is based on the data from 2020, which we had about 4 locations. And you can see the number of potential lines here in terms of the yield and also for Ascochyta. So we had already started development of pre-breeder seeds. So they're at different levels from microplots, meaning they just derived from single plants in the previous years, and then going into long plot and start bulking. So these varieties are kind of really potential. You can see on the yield up to like 20% of B90. Okay, so we'll continue in 2021 and perhaps 2022 to evaluate in more locations, and also for the Ascochyta. And then just remember that a couple locations when we score this Ascochyta is without any any fungicide application. So it's kind of more really natural resistance that we can see. So probably in the future, part of the management we are doing in chickpeas is that couple occasions we just leave it as it is to see actually what we had in the trials. Okay, so there's a lot of potential coming in the near future. Okay, so if everything goes well with this, so you start to see probably a release in 2023 some of this. Okay. So again, the objective for breeding, just to remind you, yield is still on our major goal or objective with the seed size, because this is the two things, yield and the seed size, that kind of give you the economic return. Okay, the cost and of course is multiplied by price. And then resistant to Ascochyta is among the top priority, early maturity, and improve weed management. So in terms of natural herbicide tolerance that we can see in the germplasm. And also we continue into the seed quality, size, shape, color, and composition to some extent. So for the next 3 years, the breeding, operational breeding will be funded by ADF and SPG. As Kirsten mentioned, we had support from ADF 75% and SPG 25%. So this amount is smaller than we had in the previous period in the breeding programs. So we'll be adjusting the program accordingly. So probably will be less locations, and also probably less market classes that we are doing. So maybe will be more focused on the Kabuli types, the majority, maybe 80-85%, or even 90% Kabuli, and then 10% on the Desi, and then other specialty market classes. So I just to acknowledge in my 2 slides to the crop science pulse breeding staff who maintain hardworking people and staff, very experienced. So even under COVID-19, they're still kind of maintaining their healthy and well, and maintaining the trials really well. To kernel research staff, breeder seed staff, to Dave Benalak and Craig, kind of doing all this, and then 2 co-operators will allow us to use the land for breeding trials and breeder seed increase. CDC Pulse Pathology Group will help us with the disease screening, and also the Green Innovation Lab for the quality analysis. And my support for breeding coming from Pulse Growers, Saskatchewan SPG, Government of Saskatchewan, and research also coming from Western Grain Research Foundation and University of Saskatchewan. Thank you very much for listening to me, and probably next year, hopefully we'll get back to normal so that we can see face-to-face each other again. Okay, so I'll be happy to answer any question if you may have one. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Bunyamin. There are a couple of questions that have come through. The first question is, 3652 looks round versus angular in shape. What is the color like compared to Orion or later?
The color is about the same, so kind of beige color, the 3652. So this just 2020 look a little bit around because kind of the maybe dry condition. Usually under normal condition that we've seen in the trials in the past many years, it's kind of normal Kabuli type chickpeas, and the color is similar, beige color, like Orion or Leader, like Orion or Palmer and Leader.
Okay, and the second question is there a whiter, more angular chickpea variety in the works? Examples, something similar to US Sierra.
Okay, so this is kind of a white color Kabuli. So we have in the earlier generations. So right now, probably in the Elite or F6 right now, or in other crop, you call it co-op. It's kind of whitish. So there's an older varieties. If you look at back in the 60s, 70s from the Spain, I call Blanco Lechoso. It's kind of white milk color. So this is the one chickpeas kind of quality that are preferred in Spain and Mexico. And then some of the traditional use of chickpeas, for example, kabuli for making hummus, they like more like a conventional color, like a creamy color, not too white, as they said. So, but in the breeding program, so we kind of diversified. We have conventional kabuli with a beige color, or in US they call it a cafe color. But also we do have some of these white kabulis, because the original source for this white kabulis seed color is from the older varieties that Blanco Lechoso that been grown many places in the world, and they are highly susceptible to Ascochyta. So you grow them in the field, even with 4 or 5 fungicide application, you don't get any seeds of these varieties, highly susceptible under Saskatchewan conditions. And also they are very late maturing cultivar. So, but we use that as the source to get the white color and large seed size. So that's again the kind of the linkage there. You go with larger seed. Usually you bring unintentionally this susceptibility to Ascochyta. So we try to break up that linkage in the slacks and in the crossing block in the program. Thank you for asking that.
Thank you for that answer. We do have a couple more questions, but in the spirit of keeping things on time, can we follow up with you after this presentation, Bunyamin, with these questions and get you to answer them?
Will do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Bunyamin, for your presentation. Your program has brought 4 new varieties for release in 2021. So we really appreciate your contribution to pulse production in Saskatchewan. So thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.